Okay, good evening to everyone. This is Mohit Joshipura again, coming back with a quick discussion around dose calculation, which is a quick guide to knowing what dose you're actually taking in the personalized GLP-1 space. As always, I like to start with a big idea or a TLDR, which here is that units tell you how much liquid you injected and milligrams tell you how much medication your body received. And so, again, important to recognize that units tell you how much liquid you injected, and milligrams tell you how much medication your body received. And so, for safety, consistency, and proper dosing, what matters most are milligrams if you're looking to figure out your actual dose. But if you want to know how much you need to inject, units are what you should focus on. And I'll dive into some of those nuances here on the next slide. So the easiest analogy we figured would work in this scenario is the lemonade concentrate analogy. So think of your medication like lemonade, where milligrams are how strong the lemonade is, milliliters are how much liquid you pour, and units are the lines on the measuring cup. So if you focus on units and milliliters, that only tells you how much liquid you poured. They don't tell you how strong the lemonade is. So theoretically, there could be one person who has more lemonade in their cup, but actually has a weaker brand of lemonade, as opposed to another person who has less lemonade in their cup, but actually has a stronger brand of lemonade. And so to know how much lemonade you're actually, or how to know how much lemonade you're actually drinking, you need both the amount of lemonade in your cup or the amount poured and the strength of the lemonade concentrate. So GLP medications work in much the same way when prescribed through a personalized formulation like ours. So a little bit more about conversion steps here. Let's take the example on the right, which is tirzepatide slash L-carnitine, 17 milligrams, 100 milligrams per 1 milliliter. To deconstruct that, what that actually means is that there are 17 milligrams of tirzepatide per every 1 milliliter of liquid, and there are 100 milligrams of L-carnitine for every 1 milliliter of liquid. That's what that means. And then when the instructions tell you to inject 12.5 units subcutaneously weekly, the way to kind of um, can back into figuring out how what the dose of the tirzepatide is from that 12.5 units is what I'll take you into the details of on steps 1 to 4 on the left. So keep in mind that the concentration of tirzepatide, as I said a minute ago, is 17 milligrams per 1 milliliter of liquid. Okay. And then let's assume that every 1 milliliter syringe is 100 units on it. And your instructions tell you for your particular dose to inject 12 and a half units subcutaneously every week. So the first step is to take those units and convert them to milliliters. How do you do that? You always divide by 100. So if it's 12 and a half units, you divide 12 and a half by 100, and that gets you to the milliliters, which in this case is 0.125 milliliters. Then you need to understand the actual or figure out the actual dose. That's the end goal here. And dose basically equals concentration times volume. What you know here so far is the volume. We just calculated that the volume that 12 and a half units equates to is 0.125 milliliters. So what you need now is the concentration, which we know, as I said here on the right-hand side of screen, is 17 milligrams per milliliter for tirzepatide. And then you multiply the concentration times the volume, which in this case, 17 milligrams per milliliter times 0.125 milliliters takes you to the actual dose of tirzepatide, which is 2.125 milligrams. So if there are 17 milligrams in 1 milliliter, Well, how many milligrams would be in 0.125 milliliters? That's how you get to 2.125 milligrams. So again, 2.125 milligrams is the strength of your lemonade concentrate here. It's how much lemonade you're actually putting in your body, no matter how much water is mixed in with that lemonade. The the 0.125 mLs and the 12 and a half units only tells you how much liquid you are drinking, or in this case, how much liquid you are injecting into your body. It does not necessarily, in and of itself, tell you the actual dose. To know the actual dose, you have to understand both the concentration and the volume. And this slide is how you get to that. And hopefully, that lemonade analogy now makes even more sense. I'm not going to go through this in detail. This is a little bit about commercially available and compounded visuals. On the left, you can see where it says that's a prescription for Zepbound in the written prescription, 7.5 milligrams per zero point 0.5 milliliters in a vial. And the instructions are inject zero point 0.5 milliliters, which equals to 7.5 milligrams onto the skin once weekly. And as you can see here, zero point 0.5 milliliters equals 50 units. And as I told you on the last slide, to go from units to milliliters, you divide by 100. So 50 divided by 100 would be 0.5 milliliters. So that checks out. Um, and then for compounded semaglutide, as you can see on the picture, on that vial, instructions are to inject 20 units once weekly, and the example prescription is for a 5 milligram per milliliter vial of semaglutide. So to calculate the dose in milligrams, given that um, we know that there are 5 milligrams in 1 milliliter, and you're supposed to inject 20 units. And we know that 20 units is uh, 20 divided by 100, which is zero point 0.2 milliliters. And so zero point 0.2 milliliters, you do 5 multiplied by zero point 0.2, which is 5 multiplied by 2 over 10. So again, that part I'm doing here just to check myself. 5 multiplied by zero point 0.2 is 1. And so that's how you get to the 1 milligram dose there. And so you know that this patient is taking a 1 milligram dose of semaglutide. I double checked my mental math with my actual calculator here just to make sure I am not misspeaking. So hopefully that all makes sense. I took the units, I took the concentration, I converted the units into milliliters, which in this case, 20 units divided by 100 is 0.2 milliliters. And then I took those 0.2 milliliters and multiplied by 5, which is basically 1 milligram. And so this patient is taking 1 milligram of semaglutide. Hopefully that helps. And so the key takeaway here, again, units is the lines on the measuring cup, how much liquid. Milligrams is the actual amount of medication you are injecting. So when it comes to GLP-1 dosing, if you're trying to figure out the dose itself, milligrams are the number that matters most. If you're focusing on how much you need to inject, you need to know the units or the milliliters. Okay, hopefully this helped clarify this important and nuanced issue, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you all. Thank you.